The other day I came across an article on the CBC website that really annoyed me. So I thought I would share it with you and make some comments on it. Now, this wasn't something that was written just recently. I think it was written back in November 2019, November 30th, 2019. And apparently CBC thought it was so brilliant that they reposted it again. So I'm going to read through this article and express my annoyance and some of my thoughts on it. So here's the title of this article. To kid or not to kid, since the age of 5, I've known that I do not want to be a mother. It's written by a lady named Chelsea Wren, and here's what it says. At a very young age, I knew I didn't want to become a mother. An old family video shows 5-year-old me declaring that I never wanted to have kids or get pregnant. Before I truly understood the ramifications of motherhood, I knew it wouldn't be the right choice for me. Yet decades later, I'm still questioned by others about this deeply personal decision. Now, first off, do you think that this decision that she made as a 5-year-old is really what's motivating her now? You know, when my youngest was 5, he wanted to be a spaceman runner. He loved running and he loved astronauts, so he put the two together and he wanted to be a spaceman runner. He was 5. Now he's 8, and I don't know what he wants to be because I haven't asked him. I'm a little disappointed that he gave up on the spaceman running thing because, you know, they do spacewalks now. I think if he combined running and astronauts, there's something really cool there. But he gave up on it because he was a 5-year-old. Do you really think she made a conscious decision at 5 that carried on into adulthood? Nah, I don't think so. But anyway, she's still holding on to that decision. I think she probably remade it when she became an adult. Anyway, next section says, societal pressure to have children. In my mid-20s, I felt intense societal pressure to become a mother. Where does she live? I was of childbearing age, in a steady relationship, and had a career. My friends were beginning to have babies, and people wanted to know when I was going to start my own family. The words, "I'm not having children," always set off a volley of questions. It seemed as if my decision not to have children was somehow insulting to others. Worse than the questions were the snide remarks or laughter. I was repeatedly told that I would change my mind or that I was making the wrong decision. Often these comments came from the most unexpected people. My dental hygienist looked at me in shock and asked, "Really, never? You're never going to have children?" A new colleague told me I was too young to know what I did or didn't want. A nail technician was so insistent that I have children. Pages are stuck together. I'll edit that out maybe. I don't know. So what was that? Oh yeah, a nail technician was so insistent that I have children that I finally stopped going to her shop. I'm not a woman, so I don't know what it's like to be grilled everywhere I go about whether or not I want to have children. Is that a real thing? I'd be curious to know from my 2 or 3 listeners or watchers, whatever you call this, if as a woman you've been pressured to have children. Anyway, I can't imagine not going to a nail. Well, I can't imagine going to a nail technician in the first place, but actually not going to one because they're pressuring you to have children? This is bizarre. What was her reasoning? I was letting down the entire country by not making new Canadians. Actually, I feel that your decision not to have children is actually beneficial on Canada, not propagating your gene pool. Then it goes on and says, next section, creating a space for people like me. Having reached my late 20s without meeting another soul that didn't want children, gotta be other people out there, I finally went in search of others like me online. I just wanted validation that I wasn't the only woman in the world who didn't want to become a mother, and I wasn't able to find any community that spoke to me, a young, educated, child-free woman. You know, if this is such a great decision that you've made and you're happy with it, why do you need validation from a third party? She's like looking for a support group. So she wanted a community that spoke to her, that understood her desire not to have children. Aren't support groups usually for people that have experienced trauma or trying to get off a drug or something? Usually support groups are for recovering from a bad thing. So if you need a support group to help validate your decision not to have children, maybe your decision not to have children is a decision that's bothering you enough that you need support for that decision. This is why this article annoyed me. It's nonsense. Why do I need to validate her decision not to have children? If she's happy with that, then she doesn't need external validation. That bugs me. She goes on, so I created that space. Couldn't find a support group, so she created one. I procured a loan through Future Entrepreneur Canada. She had a loan for a group that would connect women that don't want to have children. I need a tax refund right now, Trudeau. This is ridiculous. All right. So she created that space. I procured a loan through Future Entrepreneur Canada and then created a website and an online community naming it Child Free is Not a Dirty Word. How's she making money off of this? She charges subscriptions? I can imagine paying a subscription to go online and whine about the fact that you don't want to have children. All right, so she created a website, an online community, named it Child Free is Not a Dirty Word, to describe the way that people had reacted to my choice. The community quickly became a haven for other child-free people around the world and is now more than 40,000 members strong. As a Canadian, I'm lucky to be able to share my story with people from around the world. It's not really a story. It's you don't want to have kids. Especially people living in places that are far less accepting of a child-free or even childish, by choice, life. Here in Canada, I may get quizzical looks or questions about my choice, but ultimately I'm free to choose the life that's right for me. Exactly, and I don't need to validate it. And you don't need a support group if it's a good thing. In other countries, people talk about losing their jobs, being left by their partners, getting shunned by their families, and being cast out of their communities because they don't have children. Okay, I can see leaving a partner leaving them, because if I was looking for a wife or a partner, a wife, because I wouldn't do this outside of marriage, I want to choose somebody that would want to have kids because I want to have kids. If they don't want to have kids, I go look for a different wife. So yes, I could see people losing partners because they don't want to have kids. Getting shunned by their families and being cast out of their communities. Yeah, maybe in certain countries, maybe the pressure to have children is so great that if you don't, you get shunned. I could see that. But people talk about losing their jobs because they don't want to have kids. Don't employers want women to work a lot? And they sometimes get upset when you take maternity leave. Didn't Elizabeth Warren claim that she lost a job because she got pregnant and wanted to have a kid? She should find out where this country is and go there and have lots of kids. Because apparently in this country she would get fired for not wanting to have children. Bizarre. Title of our next section. Child-free living is becoming more popular in Canada. It's because everybody else is becoming stupid. According to a report from Statistics Canada, based on results from the 2016 Canadian Census, proportionately fewer households are comprised of a mom, dad, and kids family, and more Canadians are living alone or as part of a couple without any children. From 2011 to 2016, the number of couples living without children rose faster, plus 7.2%, than the number of couples with children, which was only plus 2.3%, the report adds. As a result, the share of couples living with at least one child fell from 56.7% in 2001 to 51.1% in 2016. This is the lowest level on record. Only a few short years away from being absorbed by the U.S. Although, I predict there's going to be a coronavirus baby boom. What else do you do when you're stuck at home all day? Well, I'm just saying, I assume others are doing that. I'm not saying I'm so lucky. I'll edit that out too, I think. That was a bit racy for my audience. Next section. Few opportunities to tell our story in mainstream media. Why does your story need to be told? You don't want to have kids. Excellent. Travel, enjoy the world. I don't need to hear your story, although I am reading it and sharing it. But it's because I'm mad at it. That's why I'm reading it. So, few opportunities to tell our story in mainstream media. Despite the increasing number of people deciding to forego parenthood, our lives are still mysteriously absent from mainstream media. A few sitcoms, including The Big Bang Theory, have developed a strong, child-free female character, only to have that character change her mind, reinforcing the stereotype that no women can truly be happy without children. This subliminal messaging, while irritating for the child-free, can be heartbreaking for the childless. People who wanted children, but were unable to become parents. So think about that. This lady is saying that a sitcom where a woman decided to be child-free only to change her mind later is irritating for people like her that choose not to have children, but it's heartbreaking for those that would like to have children but can't have children. And yet this lady is writing an article saying that her story is that as a woman who could have children, she's deciding not to have children. Is that not heartbreaking to the women that would love to have children but can't? The blindness of this woman. A deeper examination of the child-free choice will be presented to Canadians in To Kid or Not to Kid, a documentary presented by The Passionate Eye. This is going to be in a documentary form. I can't wait. Hope it's coming to Netflix. The film follows Maxine Trump, good last name, Trump, a filmmaker, as she decides whether she wants to have children. This must be riveting cinema. I can't wait. I wonder what it's rated. Boring. To Kid or Not to Kid confronts the notions that living child-free is somehow wrong, strange, or selfish, and delves into why this choice is often mischaracterized or considered too taboo to talk about it at all. I know people that don't have kids, some because they can't, some because they don't want to. I don't think it's too taboo to talk about. It ends with the sentence, watch To Kid or Not to Kid on The Passionate Eye. That's not going to happen. All right, so some other reaction to this. I made some notes here because I need to keep myself organized because I could just go off on a tirade and I want to make sure it's a little bit coherent. So first there's a question. Why is it that people who insist that they are making a wonderful and virtuous life decision or lifestyle decision always feel the need to seek validation from others? If you feel so good about your choice, why do I have to say I agree with it or like it or accept it? Live your life, and if your choice is so wonderful, it should be gratifying and fulfilling in and of itself. You don't need me to pat you on the back and celebrate with you. Leave me out of your decisions. Hey, and why is it that these decisions that people insist that we accept and celebrate are always things that go against my morals as a Christian? I never hear of support groups or people demanding that they accept the proposition that I'm going to not have sex outside of marriage, which I didn't do. I waited for marriage. But I didn't go around saying, please accept my decision. It seems like when something's not aligned with Christian morals, the people that are engaging in that lifestyle or in those activities or making decisions counter to God's will need validation from others in order to feel content and satisfied and not as guilty perhaps about the decisions they are making. I find that odd. Actually, I don't. I think that's probably expected when you have the truth and people don't follow that truth. They don't follow God's will. There's a natural part of our inner being that knows that we are being wrong in our decisions when we go against God. So if people want to have some type of contentment in the fact that they're making a choice that goes against God's will, they need others to pat them on the back and yippee, wonderful, love your decision, was great. Now, the Bible doesn't say, I always got to put some Christian content in here because that was the intent of this channel. The Bible doesn't say you must have children. I'll get that out there. It's not a sin not to have children. If you don't want to have children, don't have children. Because if you don't want to have children, it's probably a good thing that you don't have children. Because I doubt you'd know what to do with them. It doesn't say you should have children, but the Bible certainly talks about how joyous and wonderful and what a big blessing it is to have children. It tells us to be fruitful and multiply. The Bible is full of guidance on how to raise your children, how to discipline them, how to instruct them, how to care for them, how to raise them up into God-fearing young women and young men. So the Bible really encourages it. But it's not a commandment. Now, can this woman be happy in life choosing not to have children? Probably. I'm sure there's other things in life that make you happy besides children. But I do feel sorry for her, and this is why. I'm the father of 3 beautiful children. My wife and I were blessed with boy, girl, boy. For the first 2 children, I was present during the delivery. The third was an emergency C-section, and they shoved me into a closet with a cup of water and told me to wait for 2 hours until they'd done their thing. But for the first 2, I was in the delivery room. And I stood up by my wife's head, that area, because down there's a whole bunch of chaos and carnage. It's not a pretty sight. There's stuff coming out. It's not nice. And it's painful. My wife was in pain, and women giving birth are in pain. Can you imagine? You've got this 8-pound thing inside you that has to come out? Like, as a man, I can't comprehend it. It's traumatic. It's horrible. It's terrible. But you know what? After all that pain and all that carnage going on down there, when the doctor brings that little baby and gives it to the mother, that little thing that just tunneled its way out of her through a hole this big, out of her body, when they take that and they put it in her arms, she looks at that baby with this smile and this love and joy and forgets all of that trauma that just occurred. Will this woman who decided not to have children ever experience anything that even comes close to a fraction of that joy and fulfillment that a mother has in seeing that baby after going through a horrible ordeal? A horrible thing. Miraculous, beautiful in concept. Mechanically, it's kind of ugly. But that joy the mother has makes her forget all of that agony. Makes her forget the 9 months of carrying that thing to term. She looks at it with love and joy and happiness. It's hers. God gave it to her. This woman will never experience that. I don't want to say she's selfish. I don't know her circumstances. It sounds like she's selfish. She needs everybody to hear about what her decision is and pat her on the back and say, yay, great decision. But I don't know. I think it's ridiculous. Who needs a support group for something that is supposedly a wonderful decision? That's ridiculous. And if you want to have a family with children, go ahead. If you don't want to have kids, go ahead. If you want to get married to someone of the same sex, go ahead. We all will answer to our decisions someday. But don't look to me to validate your decisions by celebrating and accepting them. If they are so wonderful, they should be fulfilling in and of themselves. You don't need me to accept and celebrate. Take responsibility for your own decisions and actions, and in the end, you can answer for them.